To deliver this presentation, we are going live to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia this morning, and we will be speaking to the author of Making Data Work. This gentleman is also the CDO and Analytics Officer of Tawuniya. His name is Edosa Odaro, and I should say that, like yesterday, we will be having some interactive games, and you can win a signed copy of his book a little bit later on today. So let's link live to Edosa. He is a cross-industry and AI data transformational leader. Edosa, can you hear me live from the Kingdom? Good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning to you. I hear you. I hear you live here in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia.
I imagine it's pretty toasty over there in Riyadh. Is the temperature gauge hitting 50 yet?
Not quite yet. I hear this is just warming up, as they say around here. It will get a lot hotter than this. I've only been here myself just over a month, so I'm just getting used to.
Enjoy. The summer will be a special experience. Lovely. Edosa,
indeed.
Warm up our audience for us. Over to you.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. It's a real shame I couldn't be there physically, but thanks to Sneha and technology making this work virtually for us. So I've got quite a bit to go through, so I want to jump straight in. I'll share my screen in just a moment. Hopefully that works well. Just bear with me. Okay. Just while I'm finding the screen, we're going to be a bit interactive, especially as I'm not there live. What I would like us to do is use our mobile phones if we've got access to mobile, and we'll be jumping on to something called Slido in a minute. But just before that, I will share my screen, and just bear with me. I will find it. Okay, there you go. There's the screen. Okay. I did say technology was working just now. Let's see if it actually proves right. Okay. Share. Okay. Can you all see my screen? You should see my screen now. Okay. Right. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. I think I can see it across from here. Okay, just before we jump into the meat of this, I just wanted to give you a couple of bits about me which are relevant for the presentation. So thank you for that, obviously lovely introduction. Currently CDO, Chief Data and Analytics Officer, actually, at Tawuniya Insurance here in the Kingdom. But prior to that, lots of financial services, and been in media as well, and been in both kind of national government, but also multilateral as well with the EU. You already heard mentioned, I recently published this book, Making Data Work, which I think there will be some fun games about later on. And so jumping straight in, Slido, if you've got your mobile phones out, it's two ways to do this. You can either scan this code if it's big enough for you to scan from where you're sitting. Otherwise, just go onto your mobile, the browser, and just key in slide.do with the event code vibe. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes to do that. And once you get on there, there is there should be a little poll which you can vote straight on right now. And as soon as you are okay, I can see some votes coming in, and we should, if technology works, be able to see the results here, he says. It should refresh in a minute. Okay, screen's not refreshing. Why is that? out of here. Okay, that should refresh it right now. Okay. Is technology going to work? I can see on my mobile, I can see the scores. Let's have a look. Okay. It is starting to come through, but very slowly. Okay, let's have a look at that. Okay, talent, 48%. I see on my screen. Oh, it's coming through, but it's very slow on the share. So it's 48% I'm seeing here for talent. Talent's winning. None of the above is 24. Investment 16. Technology 12. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it's coming through on the screen now, but it's slow. So I'm not going to wait too long for this. We've got quite a few here. So let's jump on to the next slide. Thanks for voting. Thanks for voting. Move on. Answer. Actually, none of the above, because we're talking here actually about why the best so data strategies don't actually give us the best results. And with that, I'm talking about strategies that have all the funding, have all the technology, have all the talent, but still do not give us the results we're looking for. And so what I've found in my experience is actually this, what I call three kinds of failures, if you like. And I'm talking about investments, almost bottomless pits in terms of cash that I've seen out there. And, of course, with that, you can buy quite a lot of talent and technology. So there's three failures. Failure to address fear. Failure to embrace counterintuition. Failure to align purpose. And hopefully if we get a bit more time, I'll also like to capture, I did say three failures. The fourth one is failure to confront failure itself. Okay. Okay, so let's jump straight in. So failure to address fear. So with this, I want to give you a little bit of a story around this actually. So a case study, which I was very fortunate in some ways, if you can use the word, to at the start of the crash, the 2008 crash, be involved in trying to help regulators and some of the biggest banks in the UK to come up with why is all this happening? Why is there a run on banks? And why is it that actually, what seemed to be very stable banks were literally at their knees? And so we started to look at this, and the regulators thought, we had all the controls in the world. So what could this possibly be? And guess what? It turns out that data was central to it all. And the idea is really that it's this idea of disclosure. How much do you disclose? There was a lack of trust in the market, and that's what's actually driving people into a bank that seemed okay yesterday, suddenly doesn't today. And so the central point was that there was a distrust. People just didn't believe that the banks were still viable and stable. And so the way the regulators looked at it was actually, it's a matter of how much information was actually out there. And there was this big debate amongst those who felt that everything should be disclosed, so full disclosure, and those who felt like actually, if you did that, you would actually compromise the markets. So there's this conundrum, if you like, on the one hand, under disclosure, which is kind of the status quo, and then on the other hand was very much, should we over disclose? So as you can imagine, it's quite a difficult problem, because the argument for over disclosure was that actually you open it all up, everyone can see what they're getting, and so there's trust built from that. The argument for obviously not disclosing at all was that if you saw what was actually there, if you saw the actual state of play, that could spook everyone, and you realize that things were not as good as you thought they were. So the solution actually is to look at how trust is working and look to redesign that. And this other thing here that I call redesigning the game at play, if you like. So it's really looking at all the perspectives of all the players around and thinking of what are the trade-offs that we need to apply. The problem is it's not a one-size-fits-all. And so you've got to look at each situation individually. And when it comes to actually resolving this, the trouble is that sometimes, and we found that in this situation as well, is that fears are often hidden under the cloak of so many other things. So actually, when people tell you the reason why I'm not going to share, or the reason I'm not going to do this or that, it's not typically not the actual reason, right? So it's this idea of, if you like, concealed concerns. The concerns are actually hidden under the excuses, if you like. And so one of the things that the experts actually suggests is that we ask framing questions that actually tease out what is it that is actually under the covers here. And so I've just put a couple of framing questions here that could help. These questions, the top two questions here, are really about what the experts would call low mood questions. They're actually looking at what's the worst possible sort of situation. And then, in this order, we go down to the high mood questions. So what could good look like? And what could we do to actually ensure that those things that we are worried about, scared of actually happening, how can we turn those around and actually make those turn those into positives, if you like? So that's a framework that I found very helpful myself, and have used to good effect in terms of trying to transform what seems like a strategy not working to one that actually does turn around to work. So maybe not quite what we're expecting in terms of that kind of fear, but this is a very interesting one. The second one is this failure to embrace counterintuition, and this one, to help us here, there's another case study. And it's another jump on, actually, to Slido. It's about customer experience. It's about actually how do we use the speed of logistics to wow our customers, to actually improve the outcomes for our customers. And speed, really, if you think about it from this perspective, really about friction reduction. So the case study is really, if we jump onto Slido again, this is actually looking at one of our favorites, Amazon, if you like, and how does Amazon actually improve speed of delivery from warehouse to your house. So if we wanted to jump back onto Slido very quickly, and we should have a poll there sitting waiting for us. Give it a couple of minutes. Okay. So 2 questions. There's 3 options, actually. So is it a mix and match? If you think about an Amazon warehouse, is it mix and match, or is it sort it all out in order? or perhaps none of the above? Okay. Are we doing vote twice? Okay. So actually the answer to this might surprise. It actually is a mix and match. There's actually a video I could have shared about this, which is really interesting. So what Amazon actually do to be able to get things to you within an hour or so is actually mix and match via some very clever algorithms that actually put the things that normally go together rather than the traditional warehouse, which is, stacked in, same things together order. And this is to me, when I first looked at this, very counterintuitive, but actually makes you think about how data itself is organized and how we think about ordering, our data structures, etc. And this is an actual technique that I found actually helps within organizational data structures and architectures, is this idea of mixing and matching and actually putting things together in a way that actually delivers to the outcomes, actually works a treat. But I think even more fundamentally is this idea of sometimes the things that seem to be the ways that things have always been done aren't the best way, and counterintuition is sometimes our worst sort of enemy. So we'll go to the next one, which is failure to align purpose. So with this one is quite tricky because there isn't a single alignment, if you like. There isn't a single view. So how do you get to that point of alignment? This is a quick story here about a use case during the pandemic. Actually, there was a large multinational retail organization looking to, I suppose, survive in this crazy world that we now live in. And one of the biggest problems they thought they wanted to solve was to actually solve the problem of retail returns. And the way they were looking to do that is they wanted to be able to predict a return even before a purchase happened. So if you imagine from a digital standpoint, you're trying to buy things, putting things in your basket, and then actually what you want to know is this person going to return this item? So perhaps or at least intending to return this item, and so I can intervene. But actually, when we dug into this problem, it turns out that it is not quite as straightforward, really. So the question really was, why do you want to know this outcome? And what interventions, what are you going to do about it? And the initial thought was, actually what we'll do is offer a discount to stop the return from happening. But then when we start to dig into that, you might actually do the opposite of what the outcome you're looking for, which is perhaps customer experience. You want to improve the outcome for the customer. What perspective are you looking at in terms of that, of your intervention? And so really the kind of, if you like, the solution that we found was to really look at what is the ultimate to what end. Is it a cost saving situation? Is it a customer I suppose experience situation? Are you trying to grow your market? Are you trying just to survive? What are those key things that you're looking at? And typically there's a kind of multi-dimensional perspective to value creation. Are you creating value for customer? Are you creating value for yourself? If you've got third parties involved, is it the broker that you're trying to create value for? If it wasn't health insurance, is it the provider? Is it the client, the company, or the member, or the potential patient? So it's how do you bring all of this different perspective of value and actually decide what's the objective function, and how do you then marry all that up together to actually then design a solution? So that is the third one. Have we got time to look at the fear? The last one, the fourth one. Have we got time for that? Yes, please. Okay. Okay. So I did say I'd like to look at the fourth one as well. So failure to confront failure in itself. Now, this one might sound a bit of a strange one, but actually, a lot of times when you look into a strategy, it's really all about change. And with change comes this idea that as you try to innovate, as you try to change, then failures could occur. So there's some misconceptions about failure, and for me, when I started to look at this, and as I've gone through a number of transformations now, probably about 20 odd transformations, and that really they're two, if you like, extremes. They're two kind of categories, if you like, of failures. One extreme is what I call the macro failures, something like the entire system failing, the banking system, or something like the health structure, or a company actually folding. It's not recoverable. So there's I think a macro, so catastrophic failures. But there's also those what I call micro failures, like you spill the coffee, or you do something, you market to 5% to wrong customers, if you like, and you offer them promotions when you shouldn't have offered them promotions. So some of these kinds of failures, or are recoverable, and I class these really as micro failures. And the trouble is that when there's this fear of failure, not confronting this fear, if you like, most of the time we're worried about micro failures, forgetting that actually these micro failures are recoverable, and also are opportunities to actually learn. What I like to do, though, is to say that macro failures are really things that we don't want to see happen, because you can't easily sort of recover from them. So there is that distinction. So the challenge really is that how do you create an environment that is safe? A lot of environments out there are not unsafe to experiment. So you could do something that should be trivial, but actually brings down the entire system, because it's not created in a way that actually enables experimentation. The other thing is actually it's hard to identify issues. So you've got a micro thing happening, should in theory be easy to fix, but if you can't identify it, then it becomes, I suppose, it builds up and becomes a bigger issue. And slow to fix things when they go wrong. And I suppose perhaps about the biggest one is this idea of blame culture that a lot of organizations struggle with. So the one thing I would say that it would be good to remember is when in a situation where we're looking to change, and I've seen this multiple times, is that actually our memories kind of feel sharper when things go wrong. So why do I say this? Is really that the things, if we're looking to change and to shift a culture, to shift a strategy from not working to actually being positive, we need to really take advantage of those situations when things go wrong as the opportunity to demonstrate what a new world might look like, because those situations seem to be the ones that we remember the most. So when there's a micro failure, as an example, do I get shouted on? Do I get shouted at? Or do I get, does my managers, my leaders, my executives, do they look at that and say, oh my goodness, okay, what can we learn from this? And so I will leave you with that thought. And that was just my website, if you wanted to jump onto my website at any point or get in touch. And take some questions if you have any. Thank you.